Let's get this started.
Hello.
Hello.
Only leave feedback if it's good. We don't want bad feedback. All right, so this talk is called Going Passwordless, but that maybe isn't the best name for the talk. Maybe a better name throughout the creative process as this talk molded and became a real talk. Maybe a better name would have been Gentle Strides Towards Killing the Password, or Getting Somewhere Towards Killing the Password. Baby Steps Towards Killing the Password, or something else. But if you're looking for Going Passwordless, this is the right place. So about me, my name's Evan Johnson. On Twitter, since that's really all that matters in our industry, I am EJCX_. I also will have some code on GitHub. My GitHub is EJCX. There's other neat stuff there. And I'm usually pretty nice on Twitter if you DM me or something, unless I really don't like you. So feel free to DM me or something. So who am I? I'm Evan. I spoke here last year about passwords and on the passwords contract, and I had built a password manager in Go called Passgo. But my talks are normally all over the place. I've done like some talks on weird web exploitation stuff to security engineering stuff. I'll be speaking at Crypto Village this Saturday about secrets management in the cloud. A lot of application security stuff and security engineering. Right now I work at Segment, which is a startup in San Francisco. We just raised our Series C round, and we are hiring great security people. Before Segment, I was at Cloudflare and LastPass doing like kind of hardcore security engineering stuff and like distributed systems security. A lot of fun stuff there. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. So what is this talk? It's kind of a grab bag of thoughts and some kind of a show of some code I wrote and trying to get traction in this space. I guess it's mostly motivated by I had talked to a lot of friends, and they were kind of like really motivated 21, 22-year-olds, and I was like, what are you working on? Like, what is exciting to you? And more than one of them, two of them or three of them had said they want to kill the password. And I hadn't heard anybody say that before, but it kind of got me thinking. And my first reaction to them was like, this is crazy talk. But I kind of thought about it, and I think it's kind of a cool idea to look at and kind of push our industry towards. I would love for there to be a future where there's no passwords on mobile. I think mobile passwords are the worst. And I just think that they just don't work together, mobile and passwords. And I think another side of this talk is kind of my background. I think a lot of security people have like a malware or reversing or blue team, red team experience that I just don't have. I've only ever worked in SaaS, and that's really all I care about, and usable security. So that's kind of what to expect. So what do passwords matter? What does it matter to kill the passwords? Or kill passwords in general? I don't think we're going to kill passwords ever. I think there will always be people SSHing into servers and using passwords, even though they should be using keys if they're SSHing into servers. And there's going to be old banking applications built in the 1970s or however old these legacy things are that will just always have passwords. So they'll never disappear, but I think going forward we can start to have newer services that have something else. And I think the question is what that something else is. So typing in passwords on mobile sucks. And I kind of have this hypothesis that if there is a big like data breach at Uber and all of their passwords were dumped, the passwords would be way worse than all the passwords over at Gmail or something. Maybe Gmail's a bad example since I think people take their Gmail security really seriously. But the Uber passwords versus some other web app where people are on a keyboard typing. I feel like just the typing on such a small keyboard, you're never gonna, and kind of the having to use the app, you're never gonna be super happy writing a long password on mobile. So I feel like this is actually, as the world trends towards mobile, like developing nations, India and China, a lot of these countries are, people's only computers are mobile. And so it's important to, I guess, look at more than just what's happening in the United States when you think about why mobile is important. And so I guess let's look at some tools that tried to kill the password. And this is from a company called Clef. This is from their marketing materials, and they were around for a while. They kind of had this funky product where these lines, these vertical lines, like all of them moved all at once. I'll show you in a moment. And I have no idea how it worked under the hood, but I'm guessing it was secure. But I'm sure it was perfectly secure. Famous last words. But they had a product that completely got rid of passwords, where you had this mobile app and this barcode's moving on your screen, and you go to your WordPress site as a WordPress administrator, since that's who their main target was for some reason. WordPress plugin, that's what they really wanted to get people to install. And you'd hold up your phone and this barcode's moving, I'll show you in a minute, and you'd log in securely. Some magic would happen. And I remember I was working at LastPass when I saw Clef, and I was like, wow, that's kind of scary. That's pretty cool. That's a good product, and no need for passwords. They can log you in anywhere. So I don't know why it didn't work out. Here's a video of Clef being used. Do we get sound?
To log in with Clef, click on Login with your phone. Launch Clef on your smartphone and hold it up to the screen. Clef scans your screen and then logs you securely into your account. Forget passwords and get back to doing what you love to do. Get Clef.
Forget passwords. Yeah, I'm sure it's perfectly secure. I have no idea. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. It's worth seeing just for the barcode animation, because it's pretty crazy. But what happened to Clef?
Who among us hasn't endured the rage-inducing experience of needing to log into a site which we don't...
So what happened to Clef? They went out of business. They had raised about $3 million, greater than $3 million, and it apparently didn't work out for them. They got acquired or acqui-hired or something by Twilio, and this is from the CEO's LinkedIn profile down here. He was at Clef, and now he's some senior product manager, head of something at Twilio in San Francisco. And some of their other engineers went different places, so they're not all together. They're clearly not working on this product anymore. It's kind of just dead. They're completely end-of-lifed this month. So they had completely tried, neat product, and it just didn't work out. So I've kind of thought about why was this, and my suspicion is because you have to download this whole new special app, this Clef app thing. So what else is there? If 2 days ago, GitHub launched soft U2F, and this isn't going to ever kill the password or anything, but this is a, first of all, the logo is top-notch. They're, I'm excited for the GitHub team to start doing exploits so I can see their vuln logos with how they roped in their design team for this. But so it's a software U2F layer that you install on your computer, and it hooks into all your browser's U2F APIs, and it kind of emulates a hardware U2F token. I think this is awesome. And I think it should scare like YubiKey and the the U2F manufacturers and people selling them. And I think probably the reason behind this was it's a lot cheaper to make a software YubiKey than it is to buy 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 YubiKeys for GitHub, since this was an internal GitHub project that they open sourced. Yeah, so the idea is behind soft U2F is it's just a software U2F token instead of a hardware one. And it just emulates being a real token. And I have a GIF of how it works, or a GIF, depending on who you are. So you go here, you type in your username and password to sign in. You get this pop-up, and you just did a software U2F login with GitHub. I think that's pretty cool. And at the very least, this is getting you, I mean, the world could move to U2F only auth or something. There's nothing stopping it. But we all have passwords now, so U2F is generally a second factor instead of like a first factor. We could have a universal first factor too. But GitHub is pretty upfront about limitations here. This is from the README of the soft U2F. The red and blue parts are the important parts. So this is, I guess, a lot of security people on Hacker News like to be pretty angry about projects people build. And with hardware key storage, you are only compromised while the malware is running on your computer. With software storage, you could continue to be compromised even after the malware has been removed. This is from the README. So GitHub is being pretty upfront about these theoretical problems that a software U2F thing has. And me personally, I honestly can't think of many people who wouldn't benefit from a software U2F layer, because most people don't have a hardware U2F layer protecting them. Most people don't have a second, even most of your accounts probably don't have second factor because the companies don't provide it for you where you want to use second factor. So I kind of don't like these people who are pretty too hard on GitHub for this. I think it's a great project. And I think also that if your hardware, so the problem is malware, and if you have malware on your computer, there's no such thing as removing the malware and then the compromise is done. Like this kind of reads like that. Like once you remove the malware, the problem is done. But the malware can get at session cookies, the malware can get at authentication credentials, the malware could have gotten at all these other things. So your U2F may be safe once you remove the malware, but all the things that the U2F is protecting are not. So I feel like hardware U2F isn't that much better than software U2F. And this is the same slide, just all in yellow, because it's really hard to read. And regular U2F, we just talked about it. I don't really care about regular U2F. I have a YubiKey in my backpack, but it's a big pain. I don't think this is going to be the solution that overtakes the world and helps people be more secure, just because this is like a tech conference, and I'm sure maybe 50% of this room, I'm curious what percentage of this room owns a U2F hardware token. So 60 if I'm being generous, 50%. It's not gonna, if it's not 100% in here, it's not gonna be 100% everywhere. And we really need solutions that are globally applicable, like people's grandmas and stuff, if we're gonna make people's passwords better. Yeah, so I don't think it's regular U2F is ready for 2017. I can't use it on my phone because I have an Apple device. There's a lot of problems. Credential management. Who's heard of credential management? I'm curious. Okay, so this is a WebAppSec spec from the WebAppSec working group that is meant for I guess Google and Apple, their idea to make passwords better is not actually to replace passwords, but to make better tooling around management of passwords for browser password managers. And browser password managers not being 1Password or LastPass or the incumbents we think of. It's mostly like the Google Chrome password manager and Safari keychain password manager, whatever it hooks into or however it works under the hood. And I personally think it's really big and scary, and I don't understand it. It's really large. It's basically just a JavaScript API where people can write code that requests passwords from your browser password manager to be shipped to a particular API endpoint, like a /login. And so people can make, so the problem it's solving is password managers right now, it's not trivial to fill into a form. Like there may be 100 forms on a page, and picking the right one to put your username and password field in is really difficult, actually. I've written code that does it, and it's not fun. And so this is solving the problem by making a JavaScript API where people can kind of just circumvent that whole problem. And I personally think that the guy pushing this is Mike West. I wish he was spending his time working on other things because he's so smart, and I just don't like this at all. It feels to me like Google is trying to build an ecosystem around their password manager where it's really sticky, where you have your passwords on mobile and you have your passwords on your desktop client or in your browser in Google Chrome when you're logged in. And I just don't feel like it's solving the problem. I feel like this is like a platform play by Google to make their platform stickier. This is example code from the RFC that tells you how to like actually use this API, and nobody can read this. It's way too small and way too much code. Would not be fun to actually use this API. And the gist of it is, in JavaScript world, they attach this credentials thing to the navigator object that has all these special APIs. I personally think that this isn't going to ever solve the problem, just because you can never rely on this technology because people are still supporting IE from like 15 years ago. So nobody can ever actually write code that relies on this API being there. Safari won't support this for like another couple years, I'm sure. So I don't think I think it'll be rare that credential management, this whole thing that Mike West is spending a ton of time working on, will actually help many people. So I think the core problem here that I'm getting at is all of this stuff is too hard. Credential management's really hard and complicated. U2F is hard and complicated to use in the real world. Software U2F is pretty good, but I think it's like still too new of a concept. It's 2 days old to really say much about it. I think that all these security things designed by security people isn't going to be what solves the password and kills the password. It's not going to help non-technical users make better security choices. So I think we should take a page from someone like Slack. And I'm sure everybody in this room knows who Slack is. They are known for their user experience. They won the chat war because of their great experience. A lot of people still love IRC, which is great, but Slack appeals to non-technical users just as much as it appeals to technical users, which is amazing. They have an incredible market share. They're growing really fast. I enjoy using them. Amazon tried to buy them for $9 billion, and Slack said no. So I think they're someone worth emulating. So a couple years ago, there was this big push behind usable security. And it was kind of, I remember Moxie Marlinspike was one of the big pushers behind this. And this is while he was building TechSecure, and then it became Signal. And it's a great product. And I haven't heard much about usable security since. I remember seeing it all the time, and it just kind of died out. And we have Signal, but we haven't gotten much else from that movement. And so I think if we're going to get more good products, we have to think more like Slack and less like security people who really like these hardware U2F tokens and stuff like that. So Slack actually did something which was amazing, in my opinion, and they kind of recognized that the core of all security online isn't about passwords or anything. It's about your email account. Because you can always do a password reset to your email account. So your email is always the root of trust. And they have this thing called magiclinks. And this is what it looks like. So has anybody not heard of magiclinks? Awesome. So I'm going to rave about them. I love them. My password is always wrong in my password manager and for Slack, and I can never log in. And so I always end up logging in with magiclink every time. I have no idea what my password is, so I'm sure it's secure. So the way it works is Slack sends you a link. It works almost exactly like a forgot password link. They send you a link. You click the link takes you back to Slack, and they know that you are who you say you are, and you're logged in. It's pretty simple. So usability-wise, works great on mobile. Nobody ever types their password in wrong. Nobody ever has problems with the app not integrating with their password manager. You don't have to rely on apps to integrate with the password manager. You just need your email app, which I feel like most people, even non-technical people, have on their phones. You just go to your email, click the link, and you're logged in. It's pretty simple. So security-wise, it's actually not really a step down ever, because they're one-time use. They have great security properties. They're one-time use. They expire after a day. It's just a password reset, which we're already familiar with as an industry. And yeah, I don't know what else I had on this slide. But under the hood, how these things actually work. There's actually some prior work here that someone told me just before I came in here. I was literally walking in or like talking with someone before I came in and did the talk, and I had to add this slide. Someone a few years ago named Alex Smolin, who worked at Twitter when he was doing this, and now he's at a company called Clever in San Francisco. He designed a scheme called NoAuth. He called it NoAuth, and we can go to it, and it's exactly like a magic link, where you type in your email address and it sends you a link that you click on from your email. And then it says you're logged in as whatever email they just sent it to. It's very simple. Yeah, Alex, I had no idea about this. It's called NoAuth. And so what I did, being a big fanboy of magiclinks, was I built a service called Hexauth that is basically the same thing as magiclinks, but as a service. So it'd be like, I think it's pretty much like OAuth. So if you combine OAuth and NoAuth, it's kind of like ONoAuth, which I think it's pretty catchy. So I kind of want to stick with that, but it kind of may have bad connotations. It's called Hexauth. It's still a work in progress. It's a service that allows you to send magic links and verify them. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Hexauth. So I'm going to show you, I guess, how it works. Okay. So I'll show you now. So this is, oh God, this is going to be hard to see. I'll go to my demo slide for the lead-in here. So Hexauth, imagine, since it's still kind of cloudy, what this thing is actually doing. imagine you are a big multi-billion-dollar company with a name like Schmeicherschmoft, and you have a website, the world's best search engine. Oh, you can't see this slide. Bing. So you have the best website in the world, Bing, and I actually own Bing.lol, which was very difficult to get a HTTPS TLS cert for, because every CA has a blacklist for words like Bing and Google and stuff like that. So I immediately fired off. I had to talk to a friend who talked to a friend at Komodo, and it was a big mess. So yeah, I own Bing, Bing.lol, and we're Schmeicherschmoft, and we're trying to show that our search engine is better than Schmoogle's. So we want to have next-gen auth, this oh no auth. And this is just going to show you how it would look. So they have, so we go to bing.lol/login. So, oh wow, that looks great. The designers at Trello did a great job because I stole all their CSS and just... So this is my email address. We want to log in as me. Oh, they sent me a magic link. So the first link, we go in here. We just sign in. And it works. You were signed in as, that's my email, one of them. And yeah, the demo gods are shining on me today. So yeah, so under the hood, we can get into the protocols of what's actually going on here, under the hood. But so first, before we get into that protocol, oh man, let's look at, so password-based auth. We got a simple protocol. We've got a client. Can people see this actually? Okay, so you have a client and you have a server, and the client sends a username and password, and everybody in the world is familiar with how this works. The server either rejects the combination or they accept it and they give you a cookie or some authentication credential or something. There's very easy protocol, and I think everybody understands it. It reminds me of Mitch Hedberg and like, I give you the money and you give me the donut, and I give you the password, you give me the credentials. But it's not that simple, because when you have this simple protocol, you actually are like signing yourself up for multiple things that you have to build. You have to build yourself a way to sign up, a way to log in, a way to recover, and all this stuff where something like magiclinks, where all it is just checking that you own this email address. You don't have to do that. And also, I thought of this randomly. Like when you sign up for password-based auth, if you were a bank in the 90s and you have someone's password, and this is before bcrypt was a thing, and you've got these MD5 hashes laying around, and then you have to like, okay, what do I do with these? Do I wrap them in bcrypt? There's like not really a good path forward once you hash people's passwords to like changing the way you hash people's passwords. And so that's like another hidden problem with storing people's passwords. You just don't even want people's secrets. It's kind of crazy that every company in the world ever signs up to take on people's secrets. And I don't know. So if we look at how Hexauth works, it's actually 2 slides of this, so it's kind of crazy. So first, a client sends the server, sends to Bing. I sent to Bing. I am Evan at twinson.com. My Bing sends to my Hexauth service. I want to sign up. I want to sign in Twinson. Then from there, the Hexauth service sends me a magic link in my email, which contains a hexadecimal code, which is long enough. And it's true. And so when you click that, this is actually like a link to Hexauth. And it's a one-time use hexadecimal code that once they validate that this link is real, they forward me back to Bing, and Bing provides a callback URL, which the code gets sent to. And so it's essentially OAuth is all it is, but using your email as the identity provider, I guess. And this is the second part where the client gives the server their code that they have. The server then has, so one of the design decisions I made here was no crypto allowed. And so the server, when they get a code, they have to ask, who is this for? And then the Hexauth master service then says, this was Evan at Twinson. Yeah, so takeaways was, at the end of the day, the protocol is exactly OAuth, almost exactly. There are two codes that matter, one that gets sent to your email that you click, and then one that you then give to the server that the server then uses to verify who you are. And I really thought it was a good design decision that I made. I'm glad I stuck with the rule no crypto because it just complicates things. If this is something that people who aren't going to be at the crypto village later this week would ever consume or write code that uses or build on top of, like there can't be this added baggage of crypto and JWTs and public key crypto and all this stuff they have to learn. So I'm glad I stuck with that. And it's just these all hexadecimal strings. So conclusion, shorter talk. I think we need more innovation in this space, but I would love to see more magic links everywhere. And I think a great first step there is having it be a secondary way to sign in and not like magic link only, no passwords. But I love how Slack has this safety net so you're not penalized for forgetting your password. Because you forget your password, sometimes you have to go say, I forgot my password. And then you have to like generate a password with your password manager if you have a password manager. If you don't, then you like type in the same password and it's like, you can't use the same password you already used. And you're like, oh, so that was my password, but now I have to get a new password. It just turns into a big mess. Then you have a password manager and it's like, oh, you have too many symbols. The password managers are too good at generating symbols and they're like, we can't handle those symbols. We're very SQL injectable, so you can't use those. You can't use those. And so it's just a big mess in every regard, having passwords. We're not going to get rid of them, but I would love having this safety net of being able to still have a backdoor into getting into your account. Backdoor is a terrible word to use. Still having a safety net to access your account. I personally believe magic links could be everywhere and should be everywhere, but not everybody will. I think email, I'm not sure why, just security people are very opinionated. And I wish this usable security mantra where I felt like everybody was talking about building like usable, secure products would come back. There was like Moxie building Signal and TextSecure, and then like the Keybase people are building something that it hasn't really caught on yet, but it's still pretty cool. But I haven't really seen anything else come from that. Yeah, so encourage people to implement magic links in their SaaS products that you love so people can recover their accounts. Does anybody have questions?
Looking at your presentation for magic links and U2F, in a security standpoint, I could probably see a problem with both of them. I probably see that they could be susceptible to man-in-the-middle attacks, like getting hijacking session cookies or session tokens for the U2F. Also, the magic link could be intercepted if somebody sees it pass through your email server.
Yes.
So would there be ways to mitigate that, or maybe in the future try to find a way to secure those holes?
So U2F, I don't think that there's a big hole there. I think man in the middle wise, like TLS, you want TLS everywhere. But email is a little questionable because there's all these weird providers and TLS isn't always enabled and people don't really know. It's not always clear if your email is arriving encrypted. And I think that is a problem, but I think I live in a world where my foreseeable future, all my email will arrive from Google. And they do a great job. They are very strict about when things arrive over TLS and when they don't. So I think burn down the old providers that aren't doing TLS and aren't strict. And there's a reason why everybody's on Gmail, and there's a reason why people's whole jobs are to manage Exchange servers, and it's because it sucks and it's hard, and you should let Microsoft manage it or just use Gmail. So it's really hard. Email is definitely the weak link in this chain, but not for me because I use Gmail. But on the other hand, like Gmail knows everything about me. So my Google, I went to my phone one time and I had an email saying, "Hey, meet me here at this time," and I pulled up my map, and the address was already in the map from my email, and that was the oh shit moment where I realized Google knew everything there was to know about me. So it's a little scary.
As a former postmaster, I completely endorse the notion that you really don't want to be running your own email service. It's hard.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask is, with your no crypto, do you have any authentication between Bing.lol and your HexAuth service?
I do. So anybody can actually sign up for this right now. And Hex, I cannot see what I'm clicking on, but I hope it's not adult in nature. So yeah, you just type in your email here. I'll make one up. Demo at. And you get an API key. And so all requests that, it's basically just SaaS is all this thing is sending magic links as a service. And it's an attestation of email ownership as a service if you were writing a white paper or being businessy about it.
Anyone else?
Alrighty, thanks.